Hello you filthy animals, my name is VexViewer, and this will be my first proper Rwby discussion video. And what better way to start off this series than to talk about why Ruby Rose is the worst main character I have ever seen. Now, some of you may be thinking that that's just crazy talk, but I guarantee that if you watch this whole video, you will come to the realization that I am right. She is without question a bad written main character. Now, before we get started, let's debunk this whole notion that Ruby Rose is not the main character of this show. The red trailer came first. She's the leader of Team Rwby. Chapter 1 is named after her. She's the main fucking character. Okay? Now, Ruby Rose is a static one-note character with minimal character development, but that's been the case for the entirety of the show. I would argue that Rwby has gotten character development once throughout the first 3 volumes. That was in volume 1, in the chapter titled The Badge and the Burden Part 2.
You're supposed to be a leader, and all you've been so far is a nuisance.
Rwby learned from Ospen about what it means to be a great leader.
Being a team leader isn't just a title you carry into battle, but a badge you wear constantly.
And we see the fruits of that development later when she talks to John.
We have to put our teammates first and ourselves second.
From that point on, all the way to the end of volume 3, the main character of the show does not change at all. She's a one-dimensional character who drops nothing but optimistic one-liners.
We won't let you down. Don't worry. Things will be better tomorrow. We've never backed down before, and we're not going to start now. It's gonna be tough, but I know we can do it. And if anyone tries something like this again, we'll be there to stop them.
But the reason why I didn't hate it so much back then was for 2 reasons. One being that Rwby was a badass. And the second reason being that Rwby was still very much naive. See, Rwby has a romanticized vision of being a huntress.
I mean, the police are alright, but huntsmen and huntresses are just so much more romantic and exciting and cool. You know?
We all had this romanticized vision of being a huntress in our heads.
It is possible that she really didn't know just how fucked up the world of Rwby really was. But then the second half of volume 3 happened. Rwby witnessed some fucked up shit. You would think that once her sister got her arm cut off, and after the death of her 2 friends, she would reflect on the life she chose. Silly me, I was very much excited to see how the character would progress. Because surely she would be a bit more dejected and would have a different outlook on the world and the profession of huntress, right? Nope.
Nope.
What happened to the character in volume 4 and volume 5 was just criminal. This is when a mediocre main character became the worst main character I've ever seen. Let's begin, shall we? Now, to show you why Ruby Rose is such a bad main character, I'm going to show you a good one. Let's take a look at little Avatar Aang from Avatar The Last Airbender.
I'm ready.
I'm sure you are. Aang is a beloved character because we see him grow. We see him go through different stages.
Why didn't you tell us you were the Avatar? Because I never wanted to be.
For the purposes of this video, and to emphasize just how bad Ruby Rose is written, I will use just one episode of The Last Airbender, The Storm. The episode starts off with Aang having a nightmare.
We need you, Aang. We need you.
Katara notices that Aang is having some issues and Aang deflects. At this point, it is obvious that Aang's internal conflict will be at the center of this episode. I mean, the episode starts with the main character having a nightmare, for crying out loud. Now let's jump over to volume 4, chapter 2. Ruby Rose, the main character, has a nightmare.
So the next town is...
Wow. Let's play that again. What the hell was that?
I confused.
What a weird transition. Rwby has a nightmare. In the very next scene, she's walking down the path all smiles. Alright guys, it's happy-go-lucky Rwby here. Why are they doing that to her? Why? What is the point of Rwby having a nightmare where she hears Pierre's voice if you're just going to ignore it completely? She even has another nightmare later on, but that was only to service John's emotional scene. What was the point of traumatizing the main character if you're not going to show how that trauma is affecting her and how she overcomes it? What are they doing here? Let's jump back over to the storm. Aang eventually opens up to Katara. We get a real look inside the mind of the protagonist, and emotions run high.
I don't know what to say. How could they do that to me? They wanted to take away everything I knew and everyone I loved!
Rwby opens up to no one in Volume 4. In fact, Rwby is irrelevant for most of the volume. The only chapters where she had any importance at all is chapters 6 and 7. The volume that the fandom dubbed the recovery volume, the character who needed the most development and progression got none. Now, if your argument is that Rwby is actively avoiding all coping methods on purpose and that she's hiding behind fake emotion, there is nothing close to definitive. You are seeing what you want to see. There's nothing there. Now, before we take a look at the biggest middle finger to Rwby's development, let's jump back over to Aang. Remember, this is still the same episode. Aang feels guilty about being gone for 100 years.
The world needed me and I wasn't there to help. Aang, the fisherman was right. I did turn my back on the world.
Katara tries to make him see reason.
If you had stayed, you would have been killed along with all the other airbenders.
You don't know that.
I know it's meant to be this way.
This is good. Aang isn't buying what Katara is selling just yet. He can think for himself, and there's no way a few words is going to change how he feels at the moment. Now it's Rwby's turn. Here we go.
I'm sorry. This is all my fault. I should have never dragged you guys into this.
Rwby feels guilty about Ranger and Crow being in danger because of her. Perhaps she'll open up. Let's see what happens.
You didn't drag us in. We wanted to come.
But you didn't know about Tyrion, about...
Rwby, despite everything you've lost, and everything you could still lose, you chose to come out here. You didn't drag us along. You gave us the courage to follow you.
You have got to be kidding me. Just when you think she might get some actual decent character development, John comes in to save the day. All it takes is a few words and Rwby is all smiles again. No, no, no. Rwby is so static it's ridiculous. Is Rwby allowed to feel anything? She should have said, "No, you're wrong, John. This one is on me. It's my fault." Then later, she could come to the realization that John was right all along.
Katara, I think you were right before. I'm done dwelling on the past.
Or she could reach some other conclusion herself. This is not hard. They reduced Ruby Rose to such a nothing character by the time she writes a damn letter at the end of the volume, a letter that Yang never gets. I don't give a shit. You ignored the main character so much, I don't care about her tears. They mean nothing to me. Now, apparently Miles and Carrie came to the realization that they fucked Rwby over in Volume 4. So they decided to give Rwby a scene where she opens up to Oscar.
We're all over again. How are you okay with any of this?
So that's what I choose to do. To keep moving forward.
This shit is so forced. First of all, why is Oscar yelling at Rwby? Has he lost his damn mind? Rwby should have bitch slapped him. This scene should have happened in Volume 4 with John. That actually would have made sense. Boom. Not hard. God damn it.
Okay. Things are bad. They're bad.
I think you get the picture at this point. Rwby's development is non-existent. Let's step away from Rwby's development for a minute and let's talk about how she's written in Volume 5. Rwby Rose spends most of Volume 5 sitting on her ass in that damn house doing nothing. What we discover about Miss Rose is that she is stupid. She's an idiot for the sake of the plot. Just like the rest of the characters in this damn show. Look no further than chapter 4. Here, Rwby is training, trying to improve in hand-to-hand combat, and she socks the shit out of this 14-year-old kid. This is so pointless. The attack on Haven is a month away. It takes years and years of practice to even become decent in hand-to-hand combat. Why are they wasting our time with this shit? There is no way in hell she can improve enough in a month to beat her sister with one arm, let alone Tyrion. Besides, Rwby knows this is not her thing.
I already told you. I'm just not cut out for hand-to-hand.
Way too much is being made about her not being good in hand-to-hand combat.
You can only fight so long as you have Crescent Rose, but you're still lacking in hand-to-hand combat.
The writers have decided to make this whole what if she doesn't have Crescent Rose thing an issue. There is nothing wrong with having that be her weakness. What, you want her to be a badass scythe wielder, a silver-eyed warrior, and Bruce Lee? I mean, come on. Now, if you can remember, Rwby was very hopeful when she heard that Silver Eyes could be important in the fight against the enemy.
If I'm so special, then I can help.
Excuse me, but I have a question. Why is she actively ignoring her powers? Why doesn't she just ask Ospen about her silver eyes? You know, the reason he let her in the school early to begin with?
You have silver eyes.
I think it was something about...
Silver eyes. That's an extremely rare trait.
So?
Why? If Salem decided to use Grimm like she did last time, that shit could come in handy. Salem cares more about it than Rwby herself.
If Ruby Rose has learned to harness her gift, then you must take care to protect yours.
The notion that Ruby's left cross will be more of a factor in saving Haven than her silver eyes is beyond asinine. Guys, I have got no choice but to believe the girl is an imbecile.
If it's okay to ask, what about the Fall Maiden? Does that mean Salem has the beacon relic?
Very astute, Miss Rose.
Is Ospen trolling right now? There is nothing astute about it. We're in chapter 10. It's been a month since the events of chapter 3. A whole month, 30 days. It would have been astute for her to ask back then.
Well, I did have one more question.
No, my cane is not a relic.
I have no more questions.
You suck!
Really, Rwby? You have no more questions? You really are a dumb wench, aren't you?
You definitely painted a target on your back with what you did at Beacon. I told you having silver eyes is a rare trait.
You refuse to ask about your silver eyes? Fine. How about you ask about your mom? I mean, does anyone doubt that Ospen doesn't know what happened to her? He undoubtedly was the one that sent her on that mission. The one that led to her ultimate demise.
The girl with the silver eyes. Yes. We've dealt with their kind before.
She's not curious as to what happened? Come on, Ospen knows. Rwby, you are worthless.
There is no beating Salem.
You're wrong. We've done things that most people would call impossible.
Like what, Rwby? Like what?
And I know the only reason we were able to do it is because we didn't do it alone.
Please, someone
Work
shoot her.
with us.
See, I'm happy she got shot. That should never be the case with the main character. It's the writer's fault, I swear.
Why are you doing this? Salem!
Why is she trying to have conversations with someone trying to shoot her in the face? And what is up with that blocking animation, man? Oh my gosh. Rwby isn't even a badass anymore. She used to be cool at least. Really? Really? For whatever reason, Miles and Carrie don't want to touch this subject right now. The problem is, it doesn't make any sense within the actual story. Ruby Rose and the entire show is suffering because of it.
Why would you do something like that? I mean, what is wrong with you? You okay?
No. I'm angry.
Ruby finally gets angry. And they cut away. Great.
Uh-oh. What are you gonna do now?
Oh, you see, Vexed? She did need that training she got back in Chapter 4. Because had she not have gotten it, she wouldn't have been able to hit Mercury without her scythe. How could I have been so wrong? Wait, why did she put her scythe away? She was using it to fight Mercury.
Whatever you're doing, don't stop.
It's really so stupid. Come on. Torture.
That is it. That is it. I'm done. I cannot take any more of this. She is the worst. She is the worst main character I have ever seen. She might even be the worst character in this show.
Don't you feel honored?
Okay, she's not worse than Cinder, but she's second. She's the second worst character in the show. She's worse than Blake. That's right, she is worse than Blake Belladonna.
Have you ever met someone and thought to yourself, they are the personification of this word?
Well, I have laid out the evidence, guys. If you think I am wrong and you think she's a good main character, please tell me why. The writers themselves have all but admitted they're doing a pretty poor job with her. Hopefully she gets better. A little bit more of this.
At least I know we'll have a better chance if we try together.
And perhaps less of that. Thanks for taking the time to watch this, guys. If you like this video, please subscribe. I got more shit coming. You can also follow me on Twitter. That would be cool. Later.